Summary of Chapter 9 of *Sapiens*. A Brief History of Humankind. The Arrow of History. In Chapter 9, Yuval Noah Harari explores one of the biggest questions in history. Is history moving in a particular direction? The chapter examines how human cultures developed over time and why societies gradually became larger, more connected, and more unified. Harari discusses the growth of cultural complexity, the merging of civilizations, the spread of shared ideas, why diversity decreases over time, the concept of historical direction. Harari argues that although history appears chaotic, it has generally moved toward increasing unity among humans. 1. The nature of culture. Harari begins by explaining what culture means. Culture includes beliefs, traditions, laws, values. Language is social rules. Unlike instincts in animals, human cultures constantly change. Humans are unique because they can create cultures, modify cultures, pass cultures across generations. Culture allows humans to cooperate in large groups. 2. Cultures are always changing. One major theme of the chapter is no culture remains stable forever. Cultures continuously evolve because of a trade war, migration, technology, environmental change. For example, religions adapt, languages change, political systems evolve, even traditions that seem ancient are often products of historical change. 3. Contradictions exist inside every culture. Harari explains that cultures often contain conflicting values. For example, modern societies may value equality and competition, freedom and order, individualism and teamwork. These contradictions create tension, but also encourage creativity and adaptation. Cultures survive not because they are perfectly logical, but because humans learn to live with contradictions. 4. Cognitive dissonance. Harari introduces the idea of cognitive dissonance. This means people can hold contradictory beliefs at the same time without feeling constant discomfort. For example, a society may believe all people are equal, but also certain groups deserve more privileges. Humans often accept contradictions because culture teaches them to do so. 5. The instability of cultures. Because cultures constantly change, no society stays exactly the same. Harari argues that ancient traditions are often reinvented. Cultural systems adapt to new conditions. This flexibility helped Homo sapiens dominate the world. 6. History moves toward larger unity. One of the chapter's biggest arguments is human history has generally moved toward unification. Early humans lived in isolated tribes with completely different customs. Over time, tribes merged into kingdoms. Kingdoms became empires. Empires connected civilizations. Today, the world is more interconnected than ever. 7. The creation of larger societies. As communication and trade expanded, humans increasingly shared languages, religions, technologies, political systems. Smaller cultures often disappeared or blended into larger civilizations. Harari explains that history usually moves from fragmentation toward larger networks. 8. Universal orders. Harari introduces the concept of universal orders. These are systems of belief that aim to apply everywhere. Examples include universal religions, empires, global trade systems. Universal orders encourage people from different backgrounds to cooperate under shared rules. 9. The role of trade. Trade connected distant cultures. Merchants exchanged, encouraged cultural blending, economic interdependence, political connections. Harari argues that commerce became one of history's strongest forces for unification. 10. Money as a universal system. Money helped unite humanity because it created shared trust between strangers. Different cultures could trade because they accepted common economic value. Money works across languages, religions, nations. Harari says money became one of the most universal human systems ever created. 11. Empires spread culture. Empires often expanded through conquest, but they also connected diverse peoples. Large empires built roads, standardized laws, encouraged trade, spread languages. Examples include the Roman Empire, Persian Empire, Chinese empires. Although empires caused violence, they also accelerated cultural exchange. 12. Religion and human unity. Universal religions helped unify societies. Religions such as Buddhism, Christianity, Islam claim truths applying to all humans. This allowed people from different regions to feel connected through shared beliefs. 13. The decline of isolated cultures. As civilizations expanded, isolated cultures became rarer. Small tribal societies were often absorbed, conquered, replaced, assimilated. Modern globalization continues this process. Harari notes that cultural diversity has decreased over time. 14. Was cultural unification good? Harari does not give a simple answer. Unification brought benefits. Trade, cooperation, shared knowledge reduced isolation, but it also caused loss of traditions, destruction of local cultures, imperial domination. Human history involves both integration and conflict. 15. The direction of history. Harari asks, does history have a purpose? He argues that history does not necessarily move toward happiness, morality, justice. However, history does show a clear trend toward larger and more connected systems. 16. The spread of global culture. Modern humanity increasingly shares technologies, economic systems, scientific ideas, entertainment, political concepts. Even societies with different traditions now participate in global networks. Harari suggests humanity is moving toward a single interconnected civilization. 17. Globalization. Globalization continues the long historical process of unification. Today, information spreads instantly. International trade connects economies. Global institutions influence politics. Harari sees globalization as the latest stage in humanity's drive toward unity. 18. The cost of unity. Greater unification can reduce cultural diversity. Smaller languages, traditions, and customs may disappear. Harari compares cultural evolution to biological evolution. Some traditions survive, others vanish. Global culture creates efficiency and connection, but may weaken local identities. 19. Human cooperation expands continuously. One of the book's central themes appears again. Humans dominate because they cooperate flexibly in large numbers. Over time, cooperation expanded from families, tribes, cities, kingdoms, empires, global systems. Shared myths and institutions make this possible. 20. The future of human culture. Harari suggests humanity may eventually form a global political system, shared economic systems, common cultural frameworks. The process of unification is still continuing. However, tensions between local identities and global systems remain strong. Main themes of Chapter 91. Culture is constantly changing. No society remains completely stable. 2. Human history trends toward unity. Civilizations increasingly connect and merge over time. 3. Contradictions exist in every culture. Humans can hold conflicting beliefs simultaneously. 4. Universal systems shape civilization. Money, empires, and religions unite large populations. 5. Globalization continues historical trends. Modern global culture is part of a long process of human integration. Important concepts explained simply. What is culture? A shared system of beliefs, values, traditions, and behaviors. What is cognitive dissonance? The ability to hold contradictory beliefs without fully noticing the conflict. What are universal orders? Systems meant to apply broadly across humanity, such as empires, religions, or global trade. Why does Harari say history moves toward unity? Because human societies increasingly merge into larger political, economic, and cultural systems. Lessons from the Chapter 1. Cultures are flexible. Human societies constantly evolve and adapt to. Cooperation drives history. Larger networks of cooperation create stronger civilizations. 3. Unity has benefits and costs. Global integration increases connection, but may reduce diversity. 4. History does not guarantee happiness. Human unification does not automatically create justice or peace. Conclusion. Chapter 9 of Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, explores the long-term direction of human history and the gradual unification of civilizations. Yuval Noah Harari explains how cultures constantly change and increasingly merge through trade, empires, religion, and globalization. The chapter reveals how human societies evolve, why cultures contain contradictions, how global systems emerge, why humanity is becoming increasingly interconnected. Most importantly, the chapter suggests that despite wars and conflicts, history has generally moved toward larger systems of cooperation and shared human culture. Humanity's story is not only about division, but also about growing unity across the planet.